Welcome to the e-seminar, The Power of ProSteel V8i Select Series 8. Why you should migrate from AutoCAD. I'm Johannes Michalowski, Expert Support Engineer from Bentley Systems. The second part will be done by Tegel Zarati, Application Engineer from Bentley Systems. Switch to ProSteel V8i Select Series 8. Today to stay in control of your software decisions and costs. ProSteel V8i Select Series 8 is the newest version of ProSteel as a standalone. Here in this presentation you will see the benefits, especially in regard of taking over your existing DWG models, and the advantages of this environment. Why should you migrate? You have no platform costs, therefore cost savings. You have a lot of output formats available, such as IFC X3 coordination view import and export, and C export enhancements, including support for DSTV 2006, and more export and import capabilities like IGES, STEP, GT and Rhino. You have enhancement to stairs, handrails, bolts and bolt styles, anchor bolts, blades, grid and part list. Due to the high performance in Bentley rendered view, you can permanently work in shaded mode. You have all the advantages of the MicroStation environment, such as the creation of iModels, 3D PDFs, you have the print organizer, you have the enhanced modeling capacities with AccuDraw, structural snaps and key points. There's enhanced detail center, including support for reference files. You have a new section properties catalogs, like European, Brazilian and others. There is a multi-line notes for parts and groups available. There are great visualization tools like the direct export to Lumen RT and the support of context capture 3MX. You have the clash detection, soft and hard clashes, and the Bentley Connect edition available with cloud services. Fast and stable performance was tested and improved during development. Besides speed, memory usage is very low during processes. Notable test results are shown in the next slides with small, medium and large models. Here you see the performance improvements and comparisons. With Lumen RT, you can create great visuals on the fly or embed the environment of your clients with context capture. Here you see an example in the automotive industry. You have a great library and very easy animation tools available. Now, how does the direct usage of DWG works now? You can directly open the DWG. All information is available. Logically linked part list, structural element, and so on. The direct drawing production to DWG with the Detail Center Express is possible. And of course you can save your shop drawings as DWG and you have a batch mode support. Here you see the direct opening of any DWG. All information is there, like when you open the Detail Center. you see all your parts, groups and connections. All information is available for direct detailing or reports. Groups, hierarchy, classification is full available. All logical links and properties, business data and object data. You can edit all elements and change them exactly the same way as ever. You can directly create your drawings. All styles and settings are available for drawing production. You can create, of course, your single sheets, fabrication and GL drawings directly from your DWG. And you can save your shop drawings as a DWG, also in Brett's process, for easier conversion of a lot of files. You can create 3D PDFs, IFC or iModels, for example for Navigator Mobile. Let's see it in action. Now what's happening if you open any ProSteel DWG? You don't need to export and import anymore to have full access to all intelligence. One can directly open it. It is converted and X graphics are applied for faster graphics performance like pan and zoom. A backup copy is created just in case. Now the X graphics are applied, so you have a very fast performance. Then you can open your drawing and work permanently in any visual styles. Like here, for example. I'm switching now to transparent with shadows. I'm having full access to all object information. I can change the connections directly according to wanted layout. And of course, I can change also the properties of any existing element, as all the databases and everything is available. I have also here the extended object properties. And I have a tooltip which I can customize according to my needs. In Detail Center, all object information and everything is available. Here you can see all the groups, single parts and views. One could even now directly preview any part, as all the detailed styles and all settings are also overtaken. Of course, the connection view via connection editor or analytical view via the analysis lines is possible. Also all the various views are available, and can be directly used for detailing. Also, of course, you can renumber your parts if needed. Now let's look at the results of Detail Center Express. First, we start with the group detailing. And let's preview the part. Let's also produce some view drawings. The creation is shortened here a bit for better view. Also, there's a lot of output possibilities, like 3D PDF, iModels or IFC. The 3D PDF can be created via the print process. You print to 3D, choose a driver and the format, and then print it out. You can also print your 3D PDF to your personal share in the Connect. The 3D PDF contains the layers and the colors from your original 3D model. In Select Series 8, you can also produce an IFC file that is created for the easy use with other products. The resulting IFC file contains all business data according to IFC 2.3. Also, of course, you have all the export capacities, such as IGES, Parasolids, SAT, STEP AP 2.203 and 214, 4ML and so on. And you have the same export capacities like NC, ERP and so. For example, the export to NC has vastly improved and shows really more options as before. Now I hand over to Tegel Serati for further explanations of the advantages of the MicroStation platform.
Thank you, Johannes. So now let me take part in this second part of the presentation where we're going to look at the interface. So we're now going to be continuing with the MicroStation and the ProSteel interface, including the AccuDraw tool. Then we will look at the ProStructure snap and the key point and data point key in. Then we'll see where we can go and edit the text and the dimension styles that we're going to be using to create the 2D drawings. After that, we'll discuss the 2D drawing production workflow and terminology used in MicroStation. And we'll finish that followed by the 2D sheets, how they are constructed using title blocks and using 2Ds from the detail center as references into these sheets. So we'll start with the interface. We can access the ProSteel tools under what is called the task menu. And there we can also find all of the MicroStation tasks. Below that, we can find what we call the view groups, which allow us to change from one model to another, and the command area. That command area and the dynamic tool settings dialog, which will change actually according to the command that you have active, should be the things that you always look at to see what information it's required for us to give the command in order to proceed. All right. We also have a quick access to the levels, or as you call them in AutoCAD, the layers, through the control panel here on the top. And in the lower region, we can see the message center, which can be opened by double-clicking on it. This will open a window similar to the AutoCAD I'm trying to remember, I think it's F1 or F2 key, that gives you a listing of all the commands that you have used before. And then you have the AccuDraw and snaps that are located right beside it. Now the AccuDraw is to allow you to lock your endpoint entry in one direction or another, to change your ACS orientation and so on. So this is stuff that we'll see in typical training. All right. And finally, we've got the mouse terminology. Under the command area, when it's going to refer to the select button, it's the left button. When it's going to refer to reset, it means use the right button of your mouse. Now for the snaps, you will have three options. None, default MicroStation snaps, endpoint, intersection, etc. ProStructure snaps, which will magnet to the point shown here, switching between them using the keyboard arrows, left and right arrow and up and down arrow, to switch between point number 1, 2, 3, left and right, or up and down between, let's say, 2, 5, 8. All right. They will magnet to the start and the end point of any of the closest points along the length of the object according to the key point snap setting, which is enabled with the K key on your keyboard. So in this example, it's divided into 4 segments. So you will have the set of points, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, either at the start, at the end, or at the 3 intermediate points that we see here. Now, all of them on the image capture here are set at point number 8. But with the arrows, you could flip to other points along that element. The other option is to select the legacy snap, which will only snap to the center line of the object, again along the same dividing point set by the key point snap. But this one will only go to the center line. We also have in this dialog box the option to change the tooltips that will appear to us when we hover over an object. We can have the standard MicroStation tooltip, which we see here on the top right-hand side, or the customizable ProStructures tooltip, which we see more in the middle of the image. Let's not forget also to mention the very useful data point key-in, which enables you to enter data for point entry, and this is enabled with the P key on the keyboard. Now for the styles. Under the element pull-down menu, you will find the dimension styles, where you will be able to create or modify existing styles to better suit your company standards, and the text styles, where you will be also able to customize to your own needs. Now, in this slide, we will be discussing the terminology used in MicroStation to create 2D drawings. First, we have the 3D model, your DGN file. This is called the design model. Then we have another DGN file, what is represented here by the lower part of the green box. In this DGN file, you will drop the views, plans, part detailing, group detailing, created in the detail center of the design model from the other file that's above. And that is what we will call the drawing model, where we drop these 2Ds created from the detail center, the drawing model. Now, inside of the same DGN where we dropped these files, we will create another model which is called the sheet model. And this is where we will reference in the title block and the views we dropped from the detail center into the drawing model. These will be referenced into the sheet model to create my final 2D drawing. Here we have another look at a 2D created from reference files. We have the title block and the views. And we can also see there are two models in the DGN file. The drawing model, which is called model, and the sheet model, which is called elevations. Finally, before we proceed to the demonstration, let's take a quick look at two 2D sheet examples. First, a plan view at the first level of this building. And next, a beam from the same model as my 2D drawing. And now let's go into the demonstration.
All right, so now let's get into a live session. So let's open the file that I prepared for this presentation, and let's look first at the tools that are in the interface. All right, first thing, maybe the layer or level manager, where it allows me to change the names, line types, colors, etc. Turn on or off. So as you can see, when I turn this level off, all my structure goes away, and so on. So you can modify that here. We also saw the command area, which is the line here telling me what is it expecting me to do, and the floating window we've got here, which is the dynamic tool settings. And now this changes according to what tool you're using. For example, right now it's set to pick objects individually one by one. So if I pick this object, that highlights. If I pick the next one, it changes. If I tell it plus, I can add. All right. If I tell it minus, I can remove, etc. You can select by window and so on. I'm going to leave it at individual selection. Now this changes according to the dialog or the command you're using. So if I say, for example, I'm going to trace a circle, see how down here it's asking identify the center point of that circle, because it's expecting that. But if I change the method to be from edges, see how now it's identified the first point, right? So you need to watch those two things to enter your values, especially at the beginning when you're not that familiar with it. Make sure you pay attention to both of those areas. All right? I'm going to go back to the insert selection. Now you also have all the task area, which is what we've got here, where you have all the tools. Now right now we were looking at MicroStation tools, but you can see that we've got some ProStructures tools. This is where you'll have your isometric views, your display classes, etc., your grouping, positioning, and all that is in this area. And then tools that are specific only to steel are going to be here, like steel insertion, connections, etc., parametric elements, all of that under steel. So whichever command you want is there. You obviously still have your pull down menu where you can go and find also the commands in the pull down menu. All right. Next, we've got the snaps. Now you've got the MicroStation snaps, which are right here, where you can click and select midpoint, whichever snap you want to use. Or you have the ProStructure snaps. Now before I do that, I'm going to just tell MicroStation here to zoom in and fit my view to the screen. I'll do the same on this window and the same on this window. So all my views are a lot nicer. Right? Now, if I right click, I get my ProStructure options, which brings me to the dialog box where I have my snaps. Like right now, I've got my ProStructure snaps on. This is the snaps that go into any point along the length of an object. So if I zoom in a little closer here to, let's say, this girt, and I tell it that I would want to trace, let's say, a line on it, notice how I get the points at the edges and at the middle, and I can use the arrows to cycle through the 9 points that are available. All right. Now it's going to these points in 4 different places because of my key point snap, which is set to 4. I'll change that to 2, and now it's only going to the end, the middle, and the other end. All right, that's the ProStructure snaps. If I remove that, I now get the standard MicroStation snaps. So that's following the snaps here. So if I say midpoint, it only goes to the midpoint. All right. Now I'm going to go back to to the options, and I'm going to tell it the legacy now. If I use the legacy, then it's going to snap to the midpoint. See, this icon is now the center line at the beginning, center line, if I can get it sometime, there we go, center line at the midpoint, and center line at the end. All right, so that's the legacy. I'm gonna leave it with the MicroStation standard snap. And now you've got the tooltip. The tooltip right now is set to be the MicroStation tooltip, so it's giving me the shape name U65, position 1042. It's on level PS profile, and it's group number 93899389, whatever. If I enable the ProStructures tooltip, it's now telling me that it's actually position 1042, the name is U65, and the length is 2299, 2191, etc. And obviously this is customizable, as it is in AutoCAD. The thing with AutoCAD is you only get that tooltip. Here with MicroStation, you can flip from either MicroStation tooltip or ProStructures tooltip. All right. Let's see what's next. We can look at where the styles are located. So I have them located right here. I've got my text styles right here, where I can modify or create a new style. I already have my Bentley style created with the font Calibri. Or I could go to my dimension styles, and in here I can actually modify or create also a new style. I already have my Bentley style created with arrows and so on, etc. All right, so that's for the styles. Next, the AccuDraw tool. Right, the AccuDraw is going to be very helpful when you're inserting elements. So here, let's say I want to insert a piece of steel. So let's go from the North American catalog, a W200 by 15, 2 points. Now, when I pick my first point of insertion, and I'm going to put it here on the side, it gives me this little rectangle. Now, this little rectangle is our AccuDraw, which if I press the space bar is going to change. Notice right now how down here I've got X, Y, and Z, which allows me to go either on X, on Y, or obviously by typing a number on Z. But if I press the space bar, now it's giving me the option to go with angle. All right, so that's how you first change that part. Now the other thing right now is that I'm aligned to my window, which is not anything to do with the actual world of that building. Now in order to do that, you have the F key for forward or face. So here you can see I'm aligned with the front face. All right, I can press S for side, so now I'm aligned with the side, or I can press on T to go to align as a top view, aligned to the floor or to the horizontal plane. Right. So I'm going to go back to front. All right, now once in front, notice how it kind of goes bold when it magnets to a perpendicular or a 90-degree change. All right, you can press the enter key, and in that case notice how I'm locked in that direction. Notice here the change of colors for Y and Z. Only X is allowing me to move. All right, so I press enter again and it unlocks it. All right, so you could tell it I want to go 500 in X and I want to go 500 in Z. So now if I go back, notice how it's changed 500 in each direction. So now if I pick up here, my beam or column, whichever element that is, has been inserted with a 500 difference in X and in Z of that curve, of that ACS that I was using at that point. You have the dialog box here that allows you to rotate, or rotate by an angle if you wish, or go back to the dialog box. All right, so that was the shape insertion. All right, so now the next step is actually we're going to go and actually create our 2D drawings and see how all of this works in our MicroStation environment. So from here, if I were to open my detail center, we will notice that this drawing is actually all ready to process, I think. Let me check. I don't remember how I left it, but it is. See how I already have my 4 views and I've got a style created. They're already assigned to it, which means they're already in my view tab, and I've already processed them, so they're already actually also in my insert tab. So all of this is already done, and we don't really need to cover this. This is exactly the same as it would be with AutoCAD. You just assign a style, go and view tab and do the preview, edit detail style, tweak it as you need it, and then go and prepare the insert block. Once that's done, I'm done with this drawing. I'm going to save this, and I'm going to go into a new drawing. So let's say new. Right. I actually already had one, so I'm going to call it like this. I'm just going to make sure I'm using the right. This should be metric. Actually, you know what? I'm just going to use the one I have there. I'll just say open, because I know it's an empty file, so it doesn't really matter. Alright, so as you can see, this file is empty. There's nothing in it. If I press on the models, this is another thing we saw in the presentation earlier in the PowerPoint. You see we only have one model, and I already named it 2D views from 3D model. This was by going to the rename tool, because it was initially called just model. Alright, now in this tool what I need to do is I need to create or insert my views. So I go back to my detail center, and that's why that model is called 2D views from 3D model. So I need to go and grab that 3D model here and insert all of these. Okay, insert all of these here. All right. So I'll grab these and I'll just drag them to be inserted here. So I'll put this one here. I'll put the second one on this side. I'll put this one randomly out there, and I'll put the third one here, or the fourth one, sorry. Fourth one I'll put here. Right. I could obviously align them a lot better, but right. So now I've got my views inserted in what you would call your model space. Okay? This would be the model space of your drawing. Now the next step is to actually create your sheet. Now in order to do that, we need to create a new model. So I go back to my model tools here, and I'm going to tell it we're going to create a new model, and this model I'm going to call it, let's say 2D elevations, for example. This is going to be a sheet that's going to be at 1:1, and I'm going to use ISO A1 as my sheet size. So that's all I need to tell it, what size and so on. The rest is quite good, and I say OK. So this created, see, look at the icon, it's a sheet. So this is a sheet. Alright, now once I'm inside this sheet, now what I could do to make it look nicer, actually I can close this for now, I could insert by references. I could tell it, let's put in a title block. So I'm going to attach a reference to this, and my reference is going to be the A1. So it's going to insert that, and I'm going to tell it it's at 1:1, so this is all good. I don't need nesting, but let's say I give it nesting just so it's my default is changed, and I'll say OK. And notice how that title block fits perfectly, because it's an A1 title block in an A1 size sheet. So I'm good with that. All right. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to place in here the views that I've inserted already in my model called 2D views from 3D model. So I want to insert what I've got there. I want to bring it here. This is where in AutoCAD you would use a viewport to create that viewport into the model space, right? Consider this paper space, and we want to import from the model space. Well, in MicroStation that's not exactly the same methodology, but it's very similar. What we would do here is we would go to our references, All right, and in our references, we would just tell it, I want to make a new reference here. So I'm going to attach a new reference, and I'm going to attach from the same drawing. So I'm in 2D01, so I'm telling it I want to attach from the same drawing, and I want to attach from what? See, these are my two models. This is the 2D elevation. 3D views from 3D model is where I have those views. So I want to attach from that side, and I want to bring this at scale, I believe it's 1:20. All right, and that's all I need to do. Now if I say OK, notice how I've got that referenced in here. So that's what you could consider, if you want to take the AutoCAD terminology, it could be like your window is that purple line, but that purple line you can change, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clip it. So I'm going to go in here into my tasks, and I'm going to select this fence, place fence feature, and I'm going to fence around only these elements. All right. And then I'm going to tell it here, clip reference, and I pick inside of that fence. And now it's not showing me the other element. See, it's only showing me these. So this would be my new viewport, if you want to keep that terminology, but it's actually just a reference that I clipped. And now I can move this and place it somewhere there. Perfect. Now I need to bring the other one. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make another reference from the same file. Same thing, scale 1:20. I want to keep it at the same scale. Whoops, that's 1 inch to 20 feet. That's no good. This is the one I want. There we go. And I say OK. So guess what? It brings me, again, the whole thing. So here, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to fence around this one. So I'll place a fence around this element and clip reference. Oops, my bad. Which one is it? Yeah, that's the one. Clip reference, and I pick inside, and now I can move that and place it down here where I want it. There. And that is my 2D drawing. All right. Obviously, the 2D drawings don't have dimensions and all that. I didn't bother with that. That's not the purpose of this webinar. It's just to show you the actual workflow in MicroStation. And this is done. All right. You could go back to your model view where you still have those views, but these are shown live in the 2D elevation. Very similar to a paper space, model space, and the viewports, but here it's actually with references, and it's two models. It's what we called the drawing model, which is this here, and this here would be the sheet model. All right. So now, as a last thing, we could verify that all of this works fine by going back to our model. So let's save that file, go back to our model as the last thing we're going to do for this webinar. And from here, let's just open the detail center to verify that these elements are inserted, and they are green. It is showing me that they're inserted, and they're okay. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe delete this element, just for argument's sakes. Let's get rid of all this. All right. So I've deleted one of the footings. So one view should change. So let's reopen our detail center and see what we get here. And as you can see, yeah, south elevation has changed. So let's right click on it and update to the drawing. So obviously this is processing that view. There, it's been updated. Perfect. Let's go and see our 2D drawing now. Oops. There we go. And obviously it is fixed. See, this one still has it, that one doesn't, which means if I go into my sheet model, this element is updated. All right. So that was the demonstration of all this. So we remind you about the option here to upgrade to V8i Select Series 8, and we saw all of these, just giving you a recap on what you were able to see. So what we've got in bold here is basically what we kind of showed you during this presentation. We couldn't show everything, but you get a general idea of what was shown. So thank you very much for following this webinar, and I hope we'll see you again on our next webinar.